And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Move the Sticks. DJ, Bucky, and Buck. Man, the regular season is winding down. It seemed like this last week we saw kind of the backup quarterbacks kind of handle their business.
Yeah, backups all about, not only the quarterbacks, but some of the other players. We're now seeing late in the season that depth comes into play. How you stockpile your roster from 1 to 53 is essential. Those backup quarterbacks are pivotal pieces of the puzzle, and those guys that ultimately determine which teams get into the postseason.
Yeah, to determine who gets into the tournament and who can actually win some games when you get in that tournament. You need your role players, and that's why, to let everybody know what we got coming up on today's show, let's send it over to our Bill Wennington, producer TD behind the glass. What we got?
You went old school there, 96 Bill Wennington. All right, let's go. Week 16, a lot of teams, playoff-bound teams, lost. So we're going to look at those teams and see if we're confident and concerned about those teams, Panthers, Packers, and the rest of the folks. Aaron Rodgers, not so great this season. We're going to look there and see what's wrong with him, if it's just injuries or, thereabouts. And then Brandon Marshall has a great season. We'll break him down, and Coach Billick is going to join us to talk about coaches on the proverbial hot seat.
I was going to go Craig Hodges, but I thought your chest would puff up a little bit.
Because
you shoot like that.
Shooter.
Yeah.
Shooter, man.
Nah, wasn't going to go there. But I am looking forward to getting Coach Billick on here. Let's go through some of those coaches and find out who could potentially be looking for work after the season's over and who's going to be all right. Also going to touch on some of the top rookies on the defensive side of the ball, Buck. But as we kick things off, let's play that game. A little confident or concerned. We had a lot of big-time teams led by big-time quarterbacks. You see it up on the screen here that lost games. So I thought we'd just kind of roll through them and get your take as well as my take about whether you should be confident or concerned. Look, Carolina Panthers, they dropped their first game. They're sitting here through 15 weeks, 14-1. I can't say that I'm concerned, Buck. I'm confident.
You are.
I'm very confident. Look, they lost the game. They've been rolling up points. When you look at the games leading up to this one, over 30 points almost each and every week. 38 against the Giants, 38 against the Falcons, 41 against the Saints, 33 against the Cowboys, 44 against the Redskins. They were due to kind of have one of those lull games offensively. No Jonathan Stewart. Looks like they'll probably have him back by the time they get to the postseason. I'm not overly concerned that Julio Jones played Superman in that game and they lost.
I'm very concerned.
You're a 14-1 team?
I am very concerned because going into the playoffs, it's all about building and creating momentum.
Lost one game.
Yeah, but it's not even the way that they necessarily lost. It's the signs that they've kind of shown, particularly on defense the last couple of weeks. They've grown out the big leads, but they've let people back in the game. And so when teams adopt a pass-happy approach, they're finding success. We saw the comeback that the New Orleans Saints were able to make, getting them in a shootout, having them go back and forth. We saw the New York Giants have a comeback a week ago with Odell Beckham kind of bringing his game in the fourth quarter. And now we saw against the Atlanta Falcons, and Atlanta Falcons offense that had been struggling for most of the year, they had a level of success. And primarily their success came by targeting Julio Jones. If Josh Norman is supposed to be the premier corner in the game, a lockdown corner, he has to be able to snuff out those threats, and Julio Jones got down, and I think they may have provided a recipe for others to use to attack their defense.
Well, I wouldn't blame Josh Norman for that big play.
No, I can't blame him.
That was Kurt Coleman and Luke Kuechly about 90 yards down the field in coverage. That's a tall order to ask. Look, to me, the good thing about this team is I think they recognize that they do have some issues, and I thought Cam Newton in his comments after the game, it's real talk, Buck, when you listen to Cam.
We got our ass kicked today, and to a lot of degree, we deserved it, especially the type of way we played. But yet, we know what we're capable of. We're 14-1 right now. We put ourselves in a situation that we can use this as fuel to the fire.
Yeah, to me, look, he's admitted what happened. I do think this is a good thing. Now they can kind of exhale a little bit, forget about the 16-0 stuff. I don't think that's a bad thing. I know Coach Billick doesn't agree with me on that. We'll get to him on that a little bit later. But to me, now you get into the postseason. Now it's in debate. They could lose to Tampa. I don't think they will. But even if they lose to Tampa, they would be the number 2 seed. At worst, they're going to be a 2 seed. They're going to get a bye. They're going to be rested up. They're going to be healthy. They're going to be playing at home. I think this team's going to be just fine.
I worry about the momentum.
You just miss Ben Wickery.
No. I do think they miss him because I think now they can be exposed in the back end. Before with Ben Wickery, and Josh Norman, you had two young corners that could battle and challenge everybody. Ben Wickery was versatile enough to be able to slide in the slot and do some things. Now you have Cortland Finnegan, you have Charles Tillman, two older players that I think you can
attack.
They're
going to get some rest.
I think with Kurt Coleman in the middle, we saw him. He's made some plays. He's done some things, but there's some signs that showed up with him and Roman Harper in that Atlanta game. I'm worried about teams being able to attack them down the field. Look, their front seven is as good as any in football, but I think teams are beginning to see on tape that they can push the ball down the field. Heading into the playoffs, they have to shore that up. They have one game to get it done against Tampa Bay. If not, I think people are going to attack them vertically. When you think about the teams that are in the postseason, teams that are riding hot passing games, the Arizona Cardinals, they're going to attack. They're going to push John Brown, J.J. Nelson, Michael Floyd, Larry Fitzgerald. Also, Seattle playing well. Washington Redskins, and I know they dispatched Washington a few weeks ago, but this Redskins team is playing at a different level. I just think they could have some problems running into some of the teams that they'll have to face in the playoffs if they don't show up that passing game.
All right, we're not on the same page there. Let's go on to the next team on our list here. Stay in the NFC. Seattle Seahawks lose to St. Louis Rams. By the way, vintage St. Louis Rams. Their season's
they
over.
always finish.
Go put up an unbelievable performance and get you all jacked up about their 8-8 team as we come into next season. But when we look at the Seahawks, what are you here, Buck? Are you confident or are you concerned?
I'm very confident. I'm confident. This is a team that I feel like is built for the postseason. I think they're built to win in the postseason because they have a really good defense. Even though they're not playing to the level that we're used to seeing over the past 3 years, they still have the ability to knock you out. I'm still loving their offense, even though Russell Wilson didn't have his A game. I thought he played well enough. Doug Baldwin is still being a factor, being a problem for defenses. When they get Marshawn Lynch, and I think the day is coming soon, balances out that offense, they can get back to smashing the ball, pounding people, and throwing the ball over their heads. This is a team that is built for the postseason. They're still going to be there when it's all said and done.
This was the hardest answer for me because their defense is playing lights out. Gave up about 200-something yards, low 200s. I mean, they were outstanding in this game. The offense kind of let them down. I ended up going with concerned because of this offensive line. They have played a lot better. We've seen Russell Wilson do his damage from the pocket. He had kept him clean. In this game, man, they were all over him. You look at the sack numbers, what they were. Forget that. He got out of more trouble in this game and had to do that Houdini act that we've seen in the past. They struggled mightily, especially at right tackle. They were trying to slide down, take away Aaron Donald, trying to double-team him. Donald still got pressure. They had William Hayes got after them in this game. And my thing is, I'm concerned because you get in the NFC, and we've talked about a lot of these teams, Carolina, Arizona, these teams can heat up the quarterback. If your offensive line's not playing well, they could be in trouble.
I think of those two teams, I would be more concerned with Arizona because Arizona can absolutely heat it up. Carolina's pass rush is a little more hit or miss. KK Short is a guy that can dominate inside. Star Latulelele can make some plays, but the other guys are not necessarily there to show up. With Arizona Cardinals, they certainly can expose what the Seattle Seahawks are vulnerable at up front, and it's something that they have to address. It's been a season-long struggle trying to get that consistent play from the front five. Didn't do it against St. Louis. They got to finish off this week against Arizona to build some confidence heading into the tournament.
And one matchup that could be trouble for them if they were to meet up. Now, there's probably a good chance they both end up as wild cards, but Minnesota, I think, would be a tough matchup for them when we get in the postseason. With
the Minnesota Vikings are also a team that's built for the postseason. They can run the ball. Quarterback is playing in an efficient manner, and their defense has young, athletic bodies at every level, guys that can make plays. We saw what they did against the New York Giants. They're going to be a problem in the playoffs.
All right, let's go to the next team here, the New England Patriots. They lose the game at the Jets, overtime game. A lot has been made about the coin flip and all that. I'll leave that one alone for now. To me, give the Jets a lot of credit. They played well. But the Patriots, as underhand as they were, playing so many backup players, and then injuries, Vollmer gets hurt in the game. They have no Edelman, no Amendola, and they take a very good Jets team at home into overtime. I'm confident because they're going to get some of these guys back. And the number one reason I'm confident, Buck, is obviously number 12. But I also look at Gronkowski being healthy. And there were 3 plays. I don't know if we have these 3 plays in this game, but 3 plays in particular. When you study the tape, when I watched this morning, that I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm not worried about the Patriots because of what Gronk can do. They split him out again, and they bring Antonio Cromartie. And I know it's not the 23-year-old Antonio Cromartie that we saw a long time ago, but still, this is a big corner going up against Gronk. Bucky, he runs right by him.
Runs by him, creates separation. I mean, Gronkowski is a freak of nature. You just don't see guys that are this big with this kind of agility and movement skills, and also his pass-catching radius, his ability to bring the ball in with people draped all over him. I am concerned about the New England Patriots, though. I think at some point you reach a point of no return with the injuries. Sebastian Vollmer went down, their left tackle, and who knows how long he'll be out. The number of injuries in the back end. You didn't have Devin McCourty. I think we finally saw the limitations of the secondary. Even though Malcolm Butler has played well, he's earned Pro Bowl honors, I still don't believe him to be a true
Eric Decker got after him a little bit.
number 1 corner. And so now that you see that on tape and teams can see them for what they are, they're going to attack them differently. I am very concerned about the Patriots because Tom Brady can only do so much at his advanced age. Until he gets more of his normal playmakers around him, I think they're going to struggle.
All right, Buck, I want to just ask you a quick question here before we leave the Patriots because I'm confident in them. And I'm looking at the teams now. This is the AFC. You got Tom Brady and Bill Belichick against potentially A.J. McCarron, Brock Osweiler, Brandon Whedon, Alex Smith, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. You worried about – come on, man. I every now and then I can change your mind. I think I have a chance to change your mind.
I'm still worried about them.
No,
I'm still worried about. I like the matchup. Whenever you put the quarterback Tom Brady versus anybody, he's typically going to come out on top. Bill Belichick gets a ton of praise for all of the things that he's done as a defensive architect in this league. But the reason I'm concerned, I saw him quickly giving up on plays because he knew his guys up front couldn't protect. And when you think about the defenses that play really good football in the AFC, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, they all can get after him. The New York Jets, if they get in, that's tough because Tom Brady, for all of the great things that he does, like once he gets hit and knocked around, it changes and disrupts the rhythm of the passing game. And I don't think they can block good defensive units up front. That's a big concern for me.
I think they get those 2 wide receivers back. You got some quick hitting options there. You can get the ball out of your hands. All right, we disagree on that one. How about let's move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Buck? You confident or you concerned?
I am concerned about the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers let a game slip out of their hands against the Baltimore Ravens. That was a game that they really could have kind of etched their name in stone in terms of going to the postseason. They lose that game. Now they need a little help. They need the Jets to falter for them to get in. And the bigger concern, if they get in, I'm worried about their defense because for a defense that is playing a see-the-ball defense, see-ball, get interceptions and turnovers off tips and overthrows, I saw a team that's increasingly vulnerable. The fact that Ryan Mallett came in and was able to throw the ball all over the yard to a cast of backups and misfits for the Baltimore Ravens and have a lot of success, I'm troubled by what the Pittsburgh Steelers are putting up on defense. Also, the fact that Big Ben turned it over, he has to play better in what I call those meaningful games down the stretch.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm concerned about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, the Ravens beat them with their JV team. All these backups. Look at all the guys the Ravens are missing. They still win this football game. And the reason is because Ben Roethlisberger had an off day.
Yep.
And when you get in the tournament, Buck, you have to be able to win. We talk about you got to be able to win multiple ways.
Yes.
You got to be able to pick another unit up if you're down.
Absolutely.
And their offense has bailed out their defense repeatedly. When the defense is struggling, you see the offense come through. Offense had an off day. Ben missed some reads, made some poor decisions, wasn't on the same page as Antonio Brown. Look, they bracketed him the whole day, tried to take him away. Ben needed to be patient. He wasn't.
Yes.
But the concern is this secondary is terrible for Pittsburgh, and we saw them get exposed, and the offense for once was unable to pick them up.
Yeah, we have seen them struggle in the back end. William Gay, Ross Cockrell, Mike Mitchell, they made a handful of plays, but they've also surrendered some plays. And when they're transitioning from being a little more fire zone style under Dick LeBeau to more of a traditional Tampa 2 zone-based system under Keith Butler, we've seen some of those issues. And so they gave away a game, and then they can't get that game back. And the Jets have to lose to the Buffalo Bills. The Jets are playing as well as anybody right now. They may miss out on a playoff appearance because they didn't take care of their business when they should have against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, how about as bad of a year as the Ravens have, they sweep the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, let's move on. Final team here. Green Bay Packers. Buck, I guess I'll take this one first here. Yes, very concerned about this football team and what they have right now. Up front, they got absolutely torched by this Arizona defense. I know they're playing with a backup left tackle for most of that game.
Yeah.
But good night, Buck.
I'm very, very concerned.
Oh, my
gosh. And I believe this, and we've talked about it on the couch at NFL Game Day Blitz on Sundays. This is a team that is not built to play against the other teams that will be in the tournament. All of the other teams, Minnesota, Arizona, with the exception of the Redskins, Carolina, they all play a physical style of football. They're going to make you play a street fight in a phone booth, and the Green Bay Packers aren't constructed to handle that kind of attack. They're a finesse team. They're a team that has to pass the ball. They're not necessarily a team that can grind it out. And on defense, I don't think they're stout enough to handle someone hitting them dead in the mouth over and over and over again. Because of that, I have serious concerns about the Green Bay Packers' ability to move forward in the playoffs.
Yeah, look, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, we'll get to him. We'll get to him in a minute, man, but he's not the same guy. But to me, you also look at not only the offensive line, the inability to run the football, no balance to this football team. Jordy Nelson obviously been missed. There's more reasons to be concerned than just Aaron Rodgers. But that does lead me into the question of what's wrong with Aaron Rodgers, Buck, because this is not the same guy. When you look at where he is this season, just numbers-wise, numbers don't tell everything. But when you do look at the numbers this season compared to the last several seasons, he's definitely fallen a little bit short.
He's definitely fallen off the standard that he's created for himself as an MVP. He is a guy that I think the popular narrative was he made the Packers receivers better. The Packers were a systematic operation where you just plug guys in, the system gets them open. When I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers without Jordy Nelson, I wonder about his ability to elevate the play of the guys around him. He seems more chippy this year when you look at him from afar. He seems more frustrated and just upset with the performance of his guys on the perimeter. And look, I get it. His young guys have dropped some passes, but as the leader of that team in the franchise, he has to be able to switch his style to get those guys to play at a higher level. And this year, I haven't seen the Packers play at a high level offensively, and ultimately the responsibility rests on his feet to find a way to get it done. He hasn't gotten it done.
Yeah, he's got to get the ball out of his hand a little bit quicker. But when I went back and broke down all of his look at the numbers here. You can see him right here from 2008 to 2014. You see 65%, almost 66% completion. That's down to 60% now. You see the rest of the numbers all lower this season. Now look, they're 10-5. They're going to more than likely be a playoff football team, or they are going to be a playoff football team. Whether or not they win the division, we'll have to wait till next week. But when I went back and broke down the sacks, Bucky, let me give you the down and distance on the sacks. There were 9 sacks. He took 8 of them. Tolzien took 1.
Wow.
Third and 13, third and 15. There was a 3rd and 14. So there's 3 long yardage situations. And then he got sacked on 1st and 10, 1, 2, 3 times. 2nd and 10 once. Then a 2nd and 7. So they're not putting themselves in those 2nd and 4, 3rd and 2s. They're in obvious passing situations, and they can't get it done, man.
Hard to operate like that. It's hard to operate like that when you're playing against a stacked defense, meaning the defense knows that you have to take a one-dimensional approach, meaning you have to pass. Your offensive line isn't full of all-stars. They work better as a unit, but the injuries have just changed the chemistry on that front line. And then out on the perimeter, these guys cannot get away from press coverage. They can't shake the defenders at the line of scrimmage. They can't create separation. So it makes it very, very difficult it just makes it so difficult for Aaron Rodgers to find an open receiver because there's not a lot of space. And so when he's trying to fit the ball into tight windows, you get tips, overthrows, deflections. They lead to turnovers. Just bad all around for the Green Bay Packers. I worry about their ability to go forward, and I'm really worried about Aaron Rodgers' ability to get back to that high level without Jordy Nelson being around.
Yeah, I might have to wait for next season to see.
Guys, doesn't that bring up a bigger question, though, with Aaron Rodgers? Because this is a guy coming into the season. People were talking greatest of all time, Michael Jordan comparisons. Has this season taught us anything in terms of, like, do we need to change our career trajectory for Aaron Rodgers or no?
Well, I think it speaks to the greatness of Tom Brady.
Yes.
More than anything else. I don't know that I've, lessened my opinion of Aaron Rodgers, but to me it just shows you that Tom Brady, no matter who kind of is in and who's out and what's around him, he really does. Tom Brady, if we talk about somebody elevating the players around him, Tom Brady does that better than anybody else.
I mean, he can take anybody. You put anybody in that lineup, he'll find a way to be productive with them, provided that they understand what they're being asked to do within the scheme. His ability to elevate the play of his teammates separates him from Aaron Rodgers and some of the other quarterbacks. And what's interesting is heading into the season, and even after the first couple weeks of the season, this guy was touted as the clear elite quarterback in the league. He is the one that can lift and reverse the fortunes of a franchise just with his presence. And what we're seeing, he can't do it all by himself. He can't do it without great pass catchers on the perimeter. Until they find a way to get one of their great receivers back in Jordy Nelson, they'll continue to have these up and down outputs in big games.
Yeah, there's the book Good to Great, and I think that kind of describes in reverse what this Packers receiving core has gone from great to good. Still some good players out there, no question, but Jordy Nelson was the one that kind of made the whole thing roll. All right, Bucky, from Aaron Rodgers struggling, how about a guy that's not struggling? And that is what Brandon Marshall has done this year for the New York Jets. He's been outstanding.
Beast. He's been a beast on the outside, a freak of nature, big-bodied guy, a guy that had a lot of accolades and attention coming into this year. But when you look at the stats, 8 1,000-yard seasons, 6 times he's gone over the 100-catch mark, a dominant player as a number one receiver. And the fact that he's doing it without being the fastest or the most athletic, he's just a big, banger, a guy that understands how to use his body to create separation, has become a very, very nice route runner. And when you put the combination of the two together, it leads to a lot of plays and a lot of production from the guy that is the Jets' number one.
Look, I don't know how this has happened because obviously we do our show each and every week. We look at players. How has Brandon Marshall put up the numbers he's put up this year in New York for a team that's potentially a playoff team? Mind you, he does stuff in the media. He's out there, and yet he hasn't got much attention.
No,
it's bizarre.
He hasn't got a lot of attention, but the production speaks volumes about Chan Gailey and what he wants to do. Made it a very quarterback-friendly system for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then the chemistry and the connection between Fitzpatrick, Marshall, and Decker. Nice compliments to one another, being able to kind of play the yin and the yang, interchangeable parts. Two big guys, expanded strike zone. Fitzpatrick has to love it when he sees Brandon Marshall break the huddle and trot outside.
Yeah, look at these numbers. He's in the top 6 in just about every number. 101 catches this year with over 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's kind of done it quietly for the New York Jets. He's been outstanding. Look at this touchdown against the New England Patriots, Buck. They use kind of that the bunch formation you like to talk about. And then how about him settle his feet? The Doug Baldwin route we show on here.
You know, outstanding play. Like you put him in a bunch formation. You then have him run a stutter go right down the hash on the safety. The ball is deliberately underthrown. He makes a nice adjustment. But that ability to sink your hips and then regenerate your speed, hard to find big guys that can do it. It's one of the reasons why Brandon Marshall has been able to be special in this league as a big body playmaker.
Yeah, one of those guys. He definitely fits the classification. When he's covered, he's open, just because he is so physical, going after the ball up in the air. He's been outstanding this year, and I speak for myself. We need to give him some more love for the way he's played football, not just this year, really throughout his career. He's been incredibly consistent there, TD.
Yeah, let's give him some more love right now. You know what we like to do. Who would you rather have? Our little mini-series on YouTube. I'm going to do a rapid-fire version right here. Brandon Marshall or a couple of – I got 5 names for you guys, all right? So rapid-fire, who would you rather have? All right, Bucky, you ready to do this?
I'm very ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, Brandon Marshall, A.J. Green, who would you rather have?
Ooh,
and this is for your playoff team. About to jump in the playoffs. You need a wide receiver. That's what we're basing this on. This is right now.
All right, I'll actually go with Brandon Marshall. I think he's just more physical. I think in the postseason, it's just like basketball. Size, physicality. I'll go with Brandon Marshall.
I'm going to go with Brandon Marshall in that. I think Brandon Marshall he ranks second in touchdown receptions since 2011 or 12, only behind Dez Bryant at the top of the
physicality. That's why I'll go with Brandon Marshall.
All right, up next, Brandon Marshall or Calvin Johnson?
Oh, in current state, I'll go Brandon Marshall. That one's easy for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with – oh, well, hold up.
Calvin is not the same dude, man.
He's not.
He should not. By the way, I love him to death, but he should not have made the Pro Bowl.
I'm with you on that. Calvin's my favorite player, but I'm with you.
I like him though. But in a one-game scenario, I'm gonna go with Calvin Johnson over Brandon Marshall.
Would say this though, Calvin. A lot of people say he's lost that speed. I feel like Brandon Marshall, because he never had that speed.
He doesn't need it.
He's always comfortable playing. Like Calvin essentially could learn what Brandon Marshall does since he's lost that speed.
He can
right?
because Brandon Marshall is more of a cruiser. Doesn't have elite explosiveness, but finds a way to get open, changes speeds, uses his body. Calvin Johnson is still a dangerous dude, and I know like we kind of beat him up because a week ago he had that
one-catch game
performance, and a lot of people in fantasy hated that. But in reality, he's a problem. I'm still gonna go with the problem. I think he's a bigger problem child than Brandon.
All right, number 3, Brandon Marshall or Demaryius Thomas?
I'll go Brandon Marshall.
I'm gonna go with Brandon because I can depend on him to catch the ball a little better than Demaryius Thomas.
If you tell me I can hand the ball to Demaryius Thomas, then I would go with Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah,
You got to catch it first.
He struggled with those drops. He's probably more athletic, more explosive, probably bigger upside. But right now, I know exactly what I'm getting for Brandon Marshall when he trots out the huddle.
All right, a couple more. Brandon Marshall or Dez Bryant? I know Dez has been hurt so far.
I'll take a healthy Dez Bryant.
Yeah, I'll take a healthy Dez Bryant over Brandon.
And last one, Brandon Marshall or Larry Fitz?
Oh, I go Brandon Marshall.
I go Brandon. He's a little more dynamic than Fitz.
Okay, great. All right. So
Brandon Marshall won a lot of those.
He won a lot, yeah.
Nice little game there, TD.
Yeah, he won a lot. That's why they've won a lot of games. He and Eric Decker, that pairing, that tandem.
That's a lot of size.
It's a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich over there.
You know, Coach always talks about Coach Billick always talks about that basketball team, right? You want to have different size receivers that can do different things. There's also something to be said just trotting out a bunch of power forwards because most teams have a tall corner. Very few are like Seattle that can trot out a bunch of tall corners to match up.
They can wear you out, and because in studying them, I wrote about it a couple of weeks ago. They're interchangeable. Both guys can go in the slot, can work over the hashes, can work down the sideline, and both are red zone threats. A lot to prepare for in that system. Look, they're doing it without even Devin Smith being able to lift the blanket off the coverage.
And the thing,
like
look,
what
size receivers, just to put a bow on this, receivers, a lot of times you don't get the crafty route running to go along with it. Both these guys are
both these
route
guys,
runners.
nice,
Decker's
nice.
a technician as
Nice
a route runner.
route runners, both guys.
All right, Buck, let's get into a couple rookies here. Defensive Rookie of the Year candidates. I think it's probably all sewn up for Marcus Peters, but I'm going to give some love to somebody else after we get done with him. But first of all, Marcus Peters for what he's done. I mean, I give you credit. Bucky. You nailed this one.
No, I liked him. I liked him coming out of University of Washington. When I looked at him, he was a guy that I thought was a versatile technician. He could play bump. He could play off. He could play in bail technique. He always took the challenge of going with the opponent's number one receiver and was feisty. And I'm seeing a guy that has continued to be the same way as a pro. He's a guy that kind of reminds me of Aqib Talib. Aqib Talib, when he was in Tampa, was a guy that could play off. When he goes to New England, Bill Belichick frees him up. He did more press stuff, made a ton of plays on the ball. I see Marcus Peters evolving into a player that plays like Aqib Talib, a guy that is a flashy number one corner, a guy that continues to get it done. The fact that he's been able to do it at left corner for the Kansas City Chiefs as a rookie,
he's seeing the top dudes.
opposite Sean Smith, says a lot about who he is and what he's become. Still have to continue to get him to manage his emotions and to stay engaged in the game for 60 minutes. But in terms of his skills and his production, hard to find a better player than what he's been doing.
How about check out the numbers here when you put him up against these other notable corners? Darrelle Revis, had 4 picks his rookie year, all off the rookie year. Joe Hayden had 2 picks. Patrick Peterson 4. Richard Sherman 3. Josh Norman had 2. He's got 8 interceptions. Now, I know he's given up more touchdowns. I guess Joe Hayden gave up 6. He's given up 6 touchdowns, but he's got 8 picks, and he's got a couple touchdowns himself.
But look at the number of targets. People have thrown at him repeatedly. Nobody else on that board has faced as many targets, and he's been able to withstand the barrage. A lot of what I look for in quarterbacks is their confidence, their resiliency. The fact that they keep throwing over there, and he's able to weather the storm says a lot about his grit, his toughness, determination, and I've already ran on and on and on about his skills. He is an outstanding corner, a corner that we'll talk about for a long time, being a guy that is probably one of the standard bearers in the league.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be he's a Pro Bowler as a rookie, so that doesn't get much better than that. I think he is going to be the Rookie of the Year, Buck. But another guy I want to give some love to, a player I really like coming out of the draft out of Mississippi State because of his versatility and his ability to play both run and pass, is Preston Smith. He got a hat trick the other night in the Washington win over the Philadelphia Eagles to seal the NFC East. Coming off the edge. Now, I know Jason Peters is like a wounded animal over there at left tackle right now. But Preston Smith, 7 sacks, leads all rookies this season, having a great year.
Having a great year. Liked him at Mississippi State. I thought he was a hard-working guy, kind of a hard-head and a lunch bill guy coming off the edge, finds a way to sustain himself with second and third effort, plays physically against the run. And because he's kind of like flown under the radar, I think this Redskins defense is a little better than people give it credit for. Is one of the reasons why I think they have a chance to be a team that may make a little run in the postseason. Defense is playing well. Offense, we talked about Kirk Cousins repeatedly. This team is coming together. Now, even though they may finish with an 8-8 or a 9-7 record, watch out for the Redskins because they're trending in the right direction.
Playing well in the trenches, and that's what you want to be doing as you head towards the postseason. All right, Buck, those are 2 Rookie of the Year candidates. I still think Marcus Peters wins it. I know you probably agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I do agree.
All right, that's going to do it for the rookie discussion. Now it's our favorite time of the week is when we bring in our head coach, Brian Billick. All right, Coach, it's good to have you back again with us on Move the Sticks. And I want to jump right in with you and launch out one of your tweets like we like to do here. And you tweeted during the Panthers game, and not buying the idea the Panthers will be better off after a loss. They need that undefeated mojo more than any others chasing perfection. Now, a little bit earlier on in the show, I kind of took the opposite stance on that I think, hey, they can exhale a little bit and let's just kind of get refocused and recentered as you head towards the postseason. You don't see it that way.
Well, let's pick hairs here a little bit. One, as a coach, losing's never good. Period. Mm-hmm. It builds character. I got all the character I need. Okay, losing in the NFL is never good. Serves no purpose. Period. Now, having said that, now that they've lost, certainly Ron Rivera now can use this as a teaching moment. He can use this to refocus his team. He can use this to say, guys, see, we are vulnerable if we don't do X, Y, and Z. Yes, it also takes off a little bit of pressure of that undefeated season. But by the same token, they got to win this game now. I mean, they were in a position where they could have gone into the last game however they wanted to handle it in terms of resting whoever they wanted to rest. There was a lot of positives for winning this game. So now that they haven't, you could certainly use that to your advantage in the teaching sequence. But no, there's nothing ever good about losing in the National Football League.
Coach, when you're a coach and you're always evaluating your team, particularly as you head into the playoffs, you're looking for trends that kind of tell you that you're heading in the right direction, going for the tournament. When I look at the Carolina Panthers, I'm concerned about them because I've seen them engage in these shootouts with the New York Giants. I saw them get in a shootout with the New Orleans Saints. I saw Matt Ryan have a lot of success throwing the ball down the field. So this defense, which is what I thought would carry them in the postseason, I'm beginning to see some cracks, particularly in the secondary. If you're Ron Rivera, are you concerned by what you've seen and the amount of points you've given up of late? Or do you say, like, hey, guys, we have everything we need to fix this, and if we get it right in Week 17, we feel good going into the postseason?
Well, you're always concerned, and you're always going to address those concerns. You're never going to sit back and go, oh, we got this. We're great across the board. And the ones that you just very well did a great job in pointing out, I think, are very real. Now, the positive is in those times when they've been vulnerable in those shootouts, on the road, Cam Newton has stepped up. On the road in Seattle and the come-from-behind win. On the road in New Orleans. And even though New Orleans is not very good, that's a rivalry of theirs. It's on the road. It's difficult. On the road in New York. In New York. I mean, just the fact that it's the Big Apple. And that last drive in New York, he came out. He had that look of a Tom Brady of, hey, I got this. We can do that. So that's the good news. The fact that they've needed to do that, you're exactly right. That has to be a concern. And as brilliant as Cam Newton has been, and we did this on Game Day First over the weekend, he and Russell Wilson, previous to this weekend, are on a 5 and 6 game run that we've not seen before. With the 20 touchdowns to 1 or no interception, the way they've been running the ball. And I went back and looked. Not Tom Brady, not Peyton Manning, not Drew Brees, not Aaron Rodgers have never had that 5 or 6 game, 18, 19 touchdowns to 1 or 2 interceptions. Manning had one nice little run in their Super Bowl year, but you can't, he certainly didn't have the running numbers that Cam Newton and Russell Wilson had. So, yes, as brilliant as they've been, the things you've pointed out, and the defense I think is going to be okay, that vulnerability down the field, I think they can get back to playing some of those trap zones that they're good at. Luke Kuechly got beat a couple times in ways that we don't normally see. Normally that little route over the top, he's brilliant at baiting you into taking that and then turning and intercepting it. So, yeah, they're certainly capable of fixing that. The lack of explosiveness in the receiving core, I still think, is the biggest issue for them as they now have to head into the playoffs.
Coach, it's interesting when you look at the playoffs from the AFC to the NFC. For years, we always look at the quarterbacks, right? The AFC dominated largely because Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and even Joe Flacco had a nice run there. Ben Roethlisberger. It's all about the quarterbacks in the AFC. When I look at the playoff picture right now in the AFC, okay, Tom Brady's going to be in there, but then it could be A.J. McCarron, it could be Brock Osweiler, it could be Brandon Weeden, Alex Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And look at those names, and then now look at who in the NFC, it's all the rock stars we're going to have. Cam Newton, look, Carson Palmer's playing great. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. You look at Russell Wilson. I mean, these are some of the best in the business. It's been a pretty dramatic shift in the talent of the quarterback position.
It has, and you go back, because people are always asking me, based on our Super Bowl, obviously, is this the 2000 Ravens? Can they be that good? Well, first, let's remember, one, we had an all-time greatest single-season defense in the history of the game. Not just good, but great. We were a top 3 rushing team. And let's also remember, along the lines that you're talking about, taking nothing away from those teams, our path to the Super Bowl was Brian Griese in Denver, certainly Steve McNair in Tennessee, God rest his soul, pretty darn good, but we were used to playing them. We then had to play Rich Gannon in Oakland.
Knocked him out.
And he was not their strength. Obviously, they led the league in rushing, and he's not the individual reason. It's not like he was having a Pro Bowl year. And then Kerry Collins in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, when you look at that matchup, particularly in the AFC, that's why New England's got to feel good about itself. That's why I thought Pittsburgh and Roethlisberger, if they could get in. Now, they're in real vulnerability in getting out of not being in there. I think the New York Jets, because of the way they're playing defense, they're running the ball, versus the lineup that you just talked about. Yeah, I think they got a real run here, and certainly a healthy New England Patriots have to feel good about playing that lineup of quarterbacks.
Coach, in thinking about the New England Patriots, at what point are too many injuries? When can you have too many injuries to prevent you from really making a legitimate run? When I looked at them versus the New York Jets, this is an offense that I see is a Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski offense. White made some plays. When can it overwhelm what you want to do as a play caller and limit your ability to be able to be successful enough on offense to get it done?
Well, we just saw it against the Jets, didn't we? We saw the straw that broke the camel's back. And again, on Sunday, it was interesting as we were going through the game and with Michael Robinson and Sean O'Hara. And we had all these legitimate observations of why the Jets would win because of the way Fitzgerald has been playing. And they haven't turned the ball over. And the defense has been good. And they got the big guys outside with Decker and
Brandon
Marshall and Bilal Powell and the way he's, I mean, just on and on. Here's all these reasons, but we all picked New England. Why? Because we have this pseudo belief that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick will overcome everything. And that's unrealistic, and I think we saw it the other night. They desperately need to get Amendola and Edelman back. The running game is going to be suspect given where Steven Jackson, are you kidding me? The defense obviously can be good. They were without McCourty and Chung last week. So that, if they get these pieces back, they're going to be okay in the playoffs. But they need those pieces back because where they are right now with what they're missing on defense, the fact that it's just Gronkowski, no, they're going to struggle.
Coach, I thought real quick. I thought it would encourage you to see somebody older than you running the football in the NFL. So no, Steven Jackson doesn't get you excited, huh?
I'm in. That reminds me of the old. Someone asked how the greatest running back in the history of the game, Jim Brown. How many yards would he rush for today? And the guy they were asking says, well, I think he could get 60, 70 yards. And the guy said, wait a minute, you think Jim Brown would only get 60, 70 yards rushing? He goes, the guy's 73 years old. That's pretty darn good.
Coach, and taking it back to the New England Jets game, obviously a lot of the controversy, a lot of the criticism has been heaped on Bill Belichick for electing to kick rather than receive. Obviously, you come from an offensive background where you like to have the ball and to control your fate. Is there anything in you that can see the rationale behind his thinking based on what he was playing with offensively?
Oh, absolutely, because just remember our teams in Baltimore. Now, I left before the overtime rules and you each get a possession came into play. But with those defenses I've had, I'm not sure I wouldn't have chosen to kick off to start. Why? Because we were a team of kickoff, 3 and out, field position, move in, field goal, we win. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, I'm not here to defend Bill Belichick. Where they screwed up was this. First off, the Jets didn't do much in the fourth quarter. So Belichick's thinking, okay, I'll play the field position game. Where they made the mistake was the guy decided, instead of saying kicking off, he should have said, we want to defend that goal.
Exactly.
That way they would have chosen to kick off, and you'd have got what you wanted. You'd have gotten the
kick
win
off
the
in the
way
direction
you
you
wanted
want.
Correct. Where he screwed up was saying, we'll choose to kick off. So he did screw it up, and I'm sure Bill Belichick, of course, he's not going to explain it, but that's what Bill Belichick wanted. I'll go ahead. You can agree, disagree that, to play defense first, but he wanted that win. And the way the game had gone, and you've got to make these judgments, is like going for a 2-point play at the end of the game on the road. Do you not do it? Do you do it? I understand the logic of what he was doing in terms of where New York was, and they had struggled in the fourth, and I'm going to get them in a 3 and out, and now I only have a short field. I get a field goal, and I get out of here with the win. I understand the logic. Obviously, you got to play, and it was a beautiful drive by Fitzpatrick and the Jets, and he was wrong. And it was, obviously blew up because of the way they worded and chose to kick off. So it was a combination of that. But you can understand, obviously it didn't work, so he was wrong. But you can understand his thinking and what he was trying to do.
All right, Coach. One of the a tough day in the coaching community is coming up, and that's next Monday, which gets the ugly moniker of Black Monday, when we could see some coaches and potentially general managers be sent away from their current position. So what I want to do is just kind of play this a little feeling the heat or feeling safe. In other words, if you're this coach, are you getting a good night's sleep next Sunday, or are you going to stay up a little bit restless wondering about what's going to happen? So I thought we'd kind of go rapid fire through these.
First, I can stop you right there. I don't care who the coach is.
You're not sleeping no matter what?
Nobody's sleeping well tonight. Ron Rivera, but no, go ahead.
All right, you ready, Coach? Let's rip through them. All right, the Cleveland Browns and Mike Pettin.
there would be nothing to defend Mike Penton under as to why he should come back other than Cleveland. My God, you've been 2 and done since forever. You got rid of Mangini. You got rid of every coach since there. Heck, you even gave Chudzinski only what 1 year.
Yep.
I would say Mike Penton, keep him around if for no other reason. The other way hasn't worked. See if you can kind of pull this back together, try to get a quarterback, try to create some continuity. But I don't know that Mike Pettin's sleeping real well.
Yeah, I think there'll be name tags in Cleveland, Coach, introducing new people. How about the San Diego Chargers and Mike McCoy?
Well, the big question is, are you ready to move on from Phillip Rivers or not?
Yeah.
And Mike McCoy, again, not been able to get it done. If you're going to stay with Rivers, why not stay with McCoy and see if you can pull it back together? If you're ready to make the entire change, then I imagine Mike McCoy might be expendable at that point.
How about San Francisco? It's only 1 year. It seems crazy that we have to ask these questions anymore, but Jim Tomsula, 1 year. We referenced Rob Chudzinski being gone after 1. Do you think there's any chance San Francisco could make a change there?
Not with Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke's got just the coach that he wants in Tomsula because it's shut up, go to your office, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. And that's all Trent Baalke wants is the GM there. So, no, I think he's going to be okay.
Coach, can I ask you a question? A report came out about Trent Baalke being on the field at practice and coaching some of the DBs. As a head coach in the National Football League, how would you feel about your general manager offering suggestions and constructive criticism to your players about how to play the game?
On the field, you know what? As DJ knows, Ozzie Newsome.
He's a Hall of
Ozzie
Famer.
Newsome wants to, if that Hall of Famer wants to come on the field and coach up a player, I'm all for it. Short of that, I'm making a beeline for Trent Baalke's office, sit down and start working the cap and making some trades. Because obviously, if you think you can do my job, fair is fair. I get to go do your job because we're not doing real good.
Yeah, Coach, you remember in Baltimore that it was said all the time. Coaches coach, scouts scout, players play. And we get that messed up and confused, we have problems. And that's one thing that I thought everybody did a good job in that building in Baltimore. And like you said, Ozzie Newsome's a little bit different than Trent Baalke. Ozzie Newsome's got a gold jacket, and I don't believe Trent
has one. And even Ozzie Newsome, Hall of Fame Ozzie Newsome, would never think of doing that.
No question. Absolutely correct. All right, Coach, let's go through a couple more here real quick. Tampa Bay, Lovie Smith didn't end well, but it's still early on there. He should be okay, shouldn't he?
I think he should, and with the rookie quarterback, you have those expectations because of the rookie quarterback. I'd be surprised if Lovie weren't back.
Tom Coughlin, this is a tricky one. Now, they haven't been in the playoffs much over the last 7 years, but does have a couple Super Bowls and is well respected in our community as it gets, but it sounds like this one could be up in the air.
Yeah, the difference is that Tom Coughlin will be a part of that conversation. He will sit down with management and ownership and say, okay, what do we want to do going forward? I think they had that conversation last year. Remember, we were having the same conversation. How could Tom Coughlin go? I think they had that conversation of, okay, we think we can regroup it for here to put it back together. I'm not sure the conversation will go the same way this year.
A couple more. Philadelphia, Chip Kelly. This is year 3, 10-6, 10-6, and it looks like potentially 6-10 this season, or 7-9 at best.
No, I don't think Mr. Lurie, as much as he might want to make the change. I mean, Chip Kelly is the all-everything. He's put it all in his bucket. I don't think he can extract himself from that. I think he's going to give Chip one more chance. The problem is they got to decide what to do at quarterback. That's a tough one because typically if you've got to make a change at quarterback, you probably need to make a change at coach.
Yeah.
That needs to come in together. So you give Chip Kelly a chance to bring in a quarterback. Maybe it's a drafted quarterback. It doesn't work. Now what are you going to do? You're going to fire Chip Kelly, and now you've got that quarterback? That's an odd mix. So that I would say probably not, but only because I don't think there's anybody there left to fire him except Mr. Lurie, and I don't know that he'll do it.
All right, 2 more. The Indianapolis Colts. This has been a lot of buzz about Chuck Pagano potentially being out of a job.
Yeah, he and Ryan Grigson, I don't know, and it's a combination. I don't know why it's just Chuck Pagano. I don't think Ryan Grigson, other than, they collectively took Andrew Luck. Great move. Outside of that, the moves that they make and what they've done, they haven't pieced this together. Chuck Pagano's a good coach, and he's been 11-5 his first 3 seasons. But we came out of last year saying, well, we got to take that next step. And that's the challenge for us. If we don't, then there's a price to pay, and that's probably where they are right now.
Can I give you a quick counter on this one, Coach? Because I don't know if I've heard anybody else say this, because we've heard a lot, Pagano's on the hot seat. We've heard about Ryan Grigson in the roster. this team, without their starting quarterback, who we've all been told it's a one-man band, right? It's Andrew Luck is the only thing that they've ever had in their organization. The rest of their team stinks. I think they've gone 5-3 with Matt Hasselbeck as a starting quarterback. So you know what that tells me? It tells me, number one, this roster isn't the crap heap that everybody makes it out to be, number one. Number two tells me Chuck Pagano's a heck of a coach to be able to pull this thing together. I don't know how well they get along, but to me, coming off of a year where you're in the AFC Championship game and you lose Andrew Luck, I think he'll miss 9 games total, 1 more to go, and they go 8-8. I mean, I almost think we should be sitting here saying they actually got a pretty good thing going in Indianapolis.
Well, and let me make sure I'm clear on what I'm saying. I'm with you 100%. They got to keep Chuck Pagano. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good coach, and I think he's done a heck of a job. But let's remember, what I'm saying is, let's remember the institutional history of the Indianapolis Colts when they had Jim Mora with Peyton Manning, mm-hmm. and ended up after 4 years saying we're not moving along well enough, and he had to go. So that institutional history is working against him. But in terms of the observations that you're making, you're spot on. I would keep Chuck Pagano.
Mm-hmm. All right, last one here, and this one is one that's man, I never will call for a coach's job. I have too much respect for the job that they do and how difficult it is. But the fact that St. Louis, it's not really even discussed. It's like kind of just assumed that Jeff Fisher's going to be okay. Man, I think it's 6 winning seasons in 20 or 21 years or something like that. I mean, I just don't know who else in NFL history in the modern era has been given this much opportunity. I don't think they've had a winning season since 2007, Coach. Does it surprise you at all that we haven't heard his name pop up more as a potential Black Monday candidate?
Yeah, it does, and I'll go back to my point about and they clearly need to get a quarterback. If you're an organization, particularly when your coach has been there for 4 or 5 years, and you need to get another quarterback, that is typically when you need to make a change, because now you run the risk of getting out of balance. You draft a quarterback, you bring him in, it doesn't work. Now you get rid of the coach. Now that quarterback's got a new coach. That has been the MO for success going forward. And Jeff Fisher, we battled for many years. Jeff Fisher's a hell of a coach, and I'm not sure that if I had to hire a guy under certain circumstances, it wouldn't be Jeff Fisher. But I'm kind of with you. 6 winning seasons in 20 years. Now, if they move to L.A., that could be the thing that is the reprieve, going, okay, we'll get this new start. We need a new start, but we don't need to get rid of the coach to do it. We can do it because the organization's going to L.A. Mm-hmm. But in St. Louis, I think that might be a tough sell.
They got a lot of good players there and not a lot of wins to show for it. Actually, they've drafted really well, Buck.
Coach, quick question. Sean Payton's situation is a little different because there's a lot of speculation and innuendo that he may look to depart New Orleans at the end of the year. If you're an outsider, you're looking at this situation, do you think Sean Payton is better served to stay in New Orleans and rebuild a program that he's very familiar with, or would he be better served to go to a new program and institute a new set of ideas, a new philosophy somewhere else and have a clean start, a fresh start?
Well, what are they going to do with Drew Brees? That's really the question. If they're going to stay with Drew Brees, then yeah, I don't know why. They've got a relationship. They've proven to be solid that way. They do have to rebuild, and I don't know I think the relationship is good with Mickey Loomis, but you're signing on, you're saying this is a quick turnaround. We can do this in a year or two, because you're not looking at a 4-5 and building and restarting from that standpoint, not with Drew Brees and where he is in his career. If you decided we need to do that now, we're not going to pay the ticket for Drew Brees and we got to go get us a quarterback, then I'm not sure that there again, you don't need to make that change in unison. And Sean Payton may very well have his eye on going to a team that's got an existing quarterback, because he knows he has to have that. At the end of the day, Sean Payton's never drafted and developed a quarterback. Okay, he knows, and he had unbelievable success with Drew Brees. He's got one in Miami, and that was one of the rumors you hear, because Tannehill is there, and what he might be able to do with that if indeed Indianapolis, you got Andrew Luck there. So I can see some owner deciding that getting Sean Payton would fit that circumstance for him. It would be that name that they're looking for. But they're in New Orleans. If they're deciding they're not going to pay the ticket on Drew Brees and move off in that other direction, then that might mean there might need to be a new start here. But if they're going to keep Drew Brees there, hard to imagine Sean Payton not staying.
Well, Coach, it's going to be interesting to track all this next week, just a week away. We'll find out who's staying, who's going. We kept you a little bit longer today, Coach. I appreciate the generosity of your time today.
I'm going to sleep real well.
We overworked him.
Oh, yeah, we did. Thanks, Coach. We got it. For
All right,
those
guys.
at home, make sure you check out Coach's new article, Coach Needy Teams, What They Should Look For in New Leadership. You can find that on NFL.com. Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.
All right, Buck, it's time for Plays of the Week. And every week we like to have a theme
Yeah, what's the
with
thing?
our highlights. We got 3 plays this week, and the theme, kind of cheesy, but I like it. Balling backups.
Okay, let's go. Brandon Wheaton. I know the Dallas Cowboys would love to have him. Look at this pass to DeAndre Hopkins. I like the location. Gives his guy an opportunity to go high-pointed. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best guys in the league at doing that. Great play by Brandon Wheaton.
Brandon Wheaton leading his team to a win in that game as well. You know who else led their team to a win? Case Keenum.
How about
The
that?
St. Louis Rams. How about this dime? To get Britt open on top of Richard Sherman. Drops it right in the bucket. Richard peeked a little bit early. Touchdown Rams.
I mean, he got the ball up early. Great location, great spot. Nice catch by Kenny Brett.
All right, give me one more, Buck.
How about Ryan Mallett? Ryan Mallett off the scrap heap finds a way to get it done. Look at the location of this throw. You talk about quarterbacks throw it right up under the goalpost, the crossbar, always open in the red zone. Great play by Ryan Mallett.
Yeah, quick reminder, don't sleep on Ryan Mallett. Couldn't help myself. It's too easy. It's low-hanging fruit there. I had to grab that one. All right, Buck, that's going to do it for our show today. But make sure, if you're checking us out, by the way, you're listening to the show on iTunes, do us a favor and go to iTunes and leave us a comment, a rating. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we can improve. Love to hear from you there. Also, if you're checking us out on YouTube, Buck, what are we looking for? We're looking for the
Oh, yeah, we need a thumbs up.
We need the thumbs
We need
up.
a thumbs up.
So appreciate
Look us
that.
up.
Let us know what you think. Only one show this week, but you can catch all of our videos on YouTube, on the NFL channel. Just pump in Move the Sticks. They'll all pop up. You guys, the numbers keep growing. Seems like we're having a lot of fun here, so let's keep it rolling. And that's going to do it for us here this week, Buck. We will be back next week. We're going to go hit up some bowl games.
Going to some bowl games.
Have some
of
fun.
the top prospects.
Little college
travel.
football. It's almost draft time.
Thanks for downloading Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. For more, go to NFL.com/podcasts.